It's a new game from PKB Games, and it just arrived in my mailbox today, in fact. And I just finished my first pass through of the rules. I skipped most of the sections about air combat, which is and artillery, which have special rules, and so watch me get those rules wrong all the time. But basically, yeah, let's give this game a go. It's in the middle of summer here, and our summers aren't very long where I live, so I'm out and about a lot. I haven't been doing a lot of board games this month. You may have even seen me upload some videos that have nothing at all to do with board games, and I know that upsets some of you, and I apologize, but this is the Jeff channel, not the gaming channel. It's all things related to Jeff, not just always board games. But I do promise you that board games is my primary focus when I do record, and that is exactly the case here. So as with all situations, this game is brand spanking new. I don't know if I'm the first to do this, because I don't even know if I'm the first to have received this. Some other people might have received this months ago. But I will assure you that whatever we play, it's going to be my first time ever playing it. And so I know some of you get a little cantankerous whenever I get rules wrong or I'm learning as I go. The rule book for this is about 11 pages. 14, but these last 2 pages are just reference, so 12 pages. It's a 12-page rule book. It's not super complex. However, in order to play this solitaire, there is a separate rule book that we have to download. It did not come included with the game. I would say that that's a big demerit. When they did the Kickstarter, solitaire was considered a part of it. Right on the box, it says it's for 1 to 4 players. To not include the solitaire rulebook along with it is a little bit lame, but we do have internet and it's pretty reliable these days, so I'm not going to complain too much. It's lame. That's all. Okay, so what's the gist of this game? It's called Trench Club. As you may have guessed, it's a World War I game. Let me just get this out of the way. I don't think it takes itself very seriously in terms of historical combat. And here's why. There's 2 possible scenarios. There's this scenario here that you can see. And I just realized I'm on triple. I'm going to switch mode. That should look a lot better for you guys. A little bit more zoomed in. Okay, so as you can see here, it's just a generic map. Like, just any particular location in France, Belgium, wherever. And then on the other side, I don't know how easy it's going to be to lift this, but on the other side is like a snow map, so more towards the Russia, winter scenarios. For people who don't normally watch this channel, let me also get one other thing out of the way. This particular one is going to be an introduction to the game and maybe possibly setup, but I highly doubt that I'm going to get to setup on this particular video. And then the next video in this series is when the actual gameplay and playthrough is. So if you're not interested in just discovering the game, then please just jump right to the next video. Okay, so what's the gist of this? Well, there's 4 players to this game. Austria-Hungary, Germany, France, and England. No America in this game, which, they really weren't a factor in the beginning of the war anyways. The units, there are miniatures in the game, I believe. And what's interesting is they don't even bother telling you which color is which. I guess you get to just pick, so we could say that this is, so those are our 4 colors. And then we have green as the 4th color. So which one's Germany? It's whoever you want it to be, I guess. But so I think the one thing that throws me off is that this is typically an American color. And I thought that means there would be an American faction. But that's not the case at all. The miniatures are pretty identical for the most part. Now there are some black miniatures here, which these are the special units. And every nation has its own unique unit, and that I think is represented here. There's also some gunboats and biplanes that are in that color as well. So what's next? The next thing is, what's the objective of the game? Let's talk about that. The objective of the game is to either wipe out all the armies of an opposing force or to control 9 forts. And these are forts right here. And if you control 9 of them on the board, then you win. Now you'll see these little numbers here. These numbers represent starting locations. So let's say we're playing a 4-player game. Every player will get 3 chips that they draw that are face down. And then they have to commit. They're going to start with 1 of every troop type. There's 11 troops you start the game with. And the troops are going to look like this. So you have, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then they're going to have a unique troop type based on who they are. So you'll start with basically 1 of everything. And you get to decide how you want to form them up. So for chip number 1, you could say, okay, I'm going to put my infantry and a heavy mortar and then maybe a tank, right? And put that as group 1. Now, you don't get to look at the number, though. You're blindly assigning them to these 3 chips. So then once the chips are revealed, so let's say you get chip number 6, then you're responsible for putting your troops either on here or any of the hexes around it. So it's a really bizarre game from the perspective that I could have units here and then somebody else has them there and my ally is on the other end of the map. I mean, you could really be all across the place. I'm not sure how excited or thrilled I am by that setup rule. And then this, I think, further reinforces my position to you that this is not a historical game, not even in the slightest. It's got historical units, yes, and it actually has some pretty neat mechanics to it, which is what I like about this game. I think this is going to be a fun game, don't get me wrong. But I'm just really trying to address those of you who are looking at it from a historical perspective. It's not going to be a historical game. Just from that alone. I mean, the start is random, wherever you end up. So it creates a very tactical position. Now, the other thing is there's advanced rules in this game, and I think we're going to try to do the advanced rules from the start, because the rules aren't very complicated, and the advanced rules are how trenches work. Otherwise, you completely ignore trenches in this game if you play the basic rules, and that, to me, in a World War I game just seems pointless. So trenches are a special advanced rule, and so we're going to try to make sure we tackle that. The one thing I will confess is that trenches do add a lot of complexity, but they should, because trenches are trenches. Now, a lot of interesting things. Like, first of all, to capture a fort, you have to be, like, so this is the entrance of a fort here and here, just the 2 sides. That's it. You can't capture it from the top or bottom. As long as you're in 1, 2, 3, 4, any of these hexes that are near the entrance of the fort, it takes your full movement to enter that space, any infantry-based unit. So you can't do it with a plane, for example. So you do your full movement, you go in, and that lets you capture the fort. And that's your whole turn. Now, if you want to repair units, like get rid of damage, you have to do that in a fort. But it's only for units that were in the fort at the start of your turn. So if you moved in, that means at the start of your turn you were out here, that this fort can't repair any of your units until the following turn. And then that consumes your entire turn. So in order to repair a unit, you have to move in. That's turn 1. Turn 2, you would repair. And then turn 3, you could finally exit. So 3 turns in this game, I think, are going to be brutal. A lot of things can happen. Now, the way you take forts is the same way. If you're out here, you use your full movement, and it doesn't matter if the fort's empty or occupied by an enemy. The full turn to move in is all it takes. So whoever's in the fort gets killed. There is no like battle or anything. You literally just, if you're outside, you move in, you take it. And so basically, if you want to protect this fort, you have to kill these units that are outside or not let them get there in the first place. And that's where the strategy comes in. So you have to protect your forts. And the other thing is even though you have allies in this game, your allies are not allowed to use your forts. So everything is like uniquely yours. But in order to get 9 to win the game, I think you have to count your ally forts with yours. I'd have to double check that rule, but 9 is a lot. Let's just put it that way. The rulebook flat out says that most teams will resign long before you get to 9, and I can understand why. I mean, if you're seeing that you're losing and there's no way you're going to come back and win, what's the point of continuing to play? But that's what the rules cover. So let's talk about some things and what makes this game interesting to me and why is it unique. So one of the things I like about the game is, for example, this is a tank, which I think is a Mark IV, and you can see that if I can get rid of the blurriness, still blurry, there it is. You can see there's a Roman numeral 4 right next to my thumb, right above my finger there. This is a Mark IV tank. So what's a Mark IV tank and why does it matter? Well, you got this little tank unit here, and then there's what am I looking at? This is the Austria-Hungary one. So they only have tanks. Interesting. The British one had 2 different types. They had a Mark IV and a Mark II. And I think that's why I was pointing out the 4. But anyways, I'm still learning. My apologies. Yeah, because here you can see there's a Mark IV British tank. And then there's a Mark I they call a female tank, which is a little tinier one. And so I think green is the British units. Hence the reason it's got the 4 written on it. If I open up gray here, so they are unique. I remember I just said earlier that they weren't, and I guess they are. So here I'm opening up a German one. So I think this is the German one. It looks a lot different, of course. And yeah, there's no Roman numeral on this one. So I think they really are faction specific. And green must be the British, and that's fine. So you might be noticing that there's these 2 little doohickeys on the side, and that's what the ingenious part about this game is. And then the other thing to point out is, see, there's a number 6 there. That 6 represents that with no experience, that's the number of dice that this, or I'm sorry, that's the damage factor that this uses. So if you roll dice, a 6 or less will hit. And I can show you real quick how that behaves. So right here, a tank with a 6 or less hits. And then as they gain experience points, once they get that 3rd experience point, this yellow 8 means they now hit on a 8 or less, and then once they get to the red 10, they'll hit on a 10 or less when they roll their dice. And I know that's getting into some of the details, but that's what's really cool about this game. So you can see here that there's 2 white, 2 yellow, and then a red. Well, as you do damage to other units, you gain experience points. So if I gained an experience point for this tank, I get one of these little guys, and I get to just pop that on, and it slides right down. So there he has 1 experience point. Excuse me. Excuse me again. So then I get a 2nd experience point. Boom. And then I get my... Excuse me. See, I've been away from my board game table for so long, it's so dusty. Okay, then I get my 3rd experience point, and then I get to put a yellow one out. Like that. So just by looking at the unit, I can see that he has 3 experience points and he hit his first yellow. And then what you would do is, with your tank, you can see here, there's 2 white and then the yellow. So I can immediately, just by looking at my table, know that I hit with an 8 or less. And so yes, I would add another yellow and then eventually a red when this guy's at full veteran experience. So really, really cool concept in the game. So now what's the other one for? Well, the other one is damage. So if the tank takes the damage, I just pop one of those on. If it goes on. There, like that. So now I can see that he has 3 experience and 1 damage. And the way damage works in this game is all units get destroyed after 6 damage. So here is a fresh unit, a fresh unit will roll 12 dice. A unit with 1 damage will roll 11, and then it goes down until a unit with 5 damage will roll 5, and then on the 6th damage, it's destroyed. That's what that means. And yes, there's flanking bonuses, and then there's surround bonuses. So you get extra dice for all that. And yeah, the number of dice you roll is this. And yes, you read that correctly, or you're following along. An 8 or less is a hit. That's pretty good. And here it's a 10 or less. So what kind of dice are we rolling? They're 12-sided, just in case you're wondering. And they come in this flavor. There's a whole bunch of them. And in fact, we got 3 sets. Nope, everybody has their own. So it's meant to be rolled simultaneous. So even if you're playing solitaire, I can just take my so many dice from this, so many dice from that, and just roll them all at once. And then, of course, you have this for your flanking bonuses, stuff like that. So it comes with a lot of dice. It has miniatures for everything, which is fantastic. And that's it. The rest is, it does have some fort miniatures that you can put over top of this to give it a little bit more flavor. And then it also comes with some money, which represents your resource points, war bonds they call it, or you could use poker chips. Now, there's also very special units, like for example, there's ground attack aircraft, there's railway guns, medics, poison gas launchers, gunboats, mine layers, airships, gun turrets, and each of these have their own special rules. This is probably the most complicated part of the game, is this part here. And you can see they have their different experience levels. And then what you're seeing here is this is against air units. That's what the cloud means, because it's a ground attack aircraft. And then against ground, so they have to roll a little higher to hit an air unit, but to hit a ground unit, it's a little easier. So these are basically bomber type planes. This means that, so let's say somebody rolls dice and they need an 8 or less and they roll 5 dice. Let's say 4 of them hit. And I'm saying that this is somebody else's card. Now, if this was our card and they did 4 hits to us, then what you do is you look at this chart here. If they did 1 hit to us, we take 1 damage. And so that's this little thing here, right? If they do 5 hits to us, then we take 2 damage. So we would put 2 of those on. Since they did 4, we still only get 1 damage, because basically this means 1 to 4. This means 5 to 6, right? And 7, to 8. So depending on the number of hits they do on us, this is the number of damage. So in order to kill us outright, they would have to do 12 total hits, which is pretty hard to do. Anyways, that's how combat works. And everybody takes their turn. They get to move all their units and then do combat with all their units, all before the next player gets to go. And so there are some stagger rules. So like whoever gets to go first doesn't get to activate everybody, but whoever goes last does. There's some rules like that. And then, like I said, I haven't looked at the solitaire rules, so I don't know how solitaire is handled. And really my true test of this game and my measure of success is how good the solitaire rules are going to be. This game looks like it would be neat fun against other players. It has a Company of Heroes feel, which I still don't have my copy of Company of Heroes, even though it's been months since it's been out. I have played it quite a few times, so I'm very familiar with the game and would love to show you the game. I just don't have my copy. This is a lot like Company of Heroes in many ways. It's a little less complex than Company of Heroes, but it's a neat little, do I dare call it a dice chucker? Yeah, I guess it is. It's a dice chucker. But it's a neat little one. The map isn't very large. I don't think it takes itself super serious. I think this concept of experience and damage is fascinating, and I really wanted to reward that type of innovation. And, compared to other rule books that I've read for war games, this rule book is excellent, and it has so many examples. Now, does that mean I'm going to get the rules wrong still? Of course, I'm Jeff. These are my videos. Any of you who've been here, you know that that's always going to be the case. And I apologize. A lot of times it's just, there's so many things I'm trying to do at once. But anyways, that's it. This is Trench Cub. That's the introduction. And like I said, we're going to draw chips. You assign your unit, you get one of every unit type. So every unit type that's on your sheet, you get one of each. And then you assign them blindly to your chips, and then you reveal your chips, and that's where they go. So you're really just trying to group your units based on what you think they can do. The other thing to mention is that a trench, for example, with the special rules, a trench, all the hexes that contain a trench are considered to be one. Like if you have a unit here in a trench, that unit is considered to be everywhere. So all the hexes that are adjacent to the trench are considered adjacent to you. So you can leave that trench anywhere along the map that trench exists, which goes all the way to the end, okay? But that also means that people can attack you from anywhere on the map as long as they're adjacent to that trench as well. So you're everywhere at once. And so, and then everybody gets to attack you, just like you get to attack everybody. So it's an interesting idea. So we're going to try it. The river hexes and the lake hexes, some of them are impassable. The river is full movement to cross. I need to look up, if you could even cross it on this one. I think it was more of the winter map that they were using in the example. I need to make sure. I think we might be restricted to the bridges on this particular map. What else? I think that covers it. If you're wondering, what's the difference between each of the nations? The rulebook explicitly says that every single, a field gun for Britain is the same as a field gun for Germany and everybody else. So the stats and everything should be identical. You'll eventually get to a point where you don't even need this sheet, or you only need one copy of this sheet and all the nations can use it because they all use the same stats. Now, with that being said, the bottom right, the unique unit for each one, this one is different. So for example, I'm grabbing Germany here. They have a unique unit that's called Big Bertha. Now it does say you start with all 11 units, and I need to look up what that means because here you could see there's only 10. So I got to figure out what it means by you start with all 11. So I'll look that up before we start. I got to look that up. I got to finish reading about air and artillery, and I need to download the solo rules and see if that's going to pass the test, the real test for this game. So there you go, Trench Club. How far am I into this? 22 minutes. That's pretty good. So next video, we will do the setup real quick. I got to figure out how setup works with a one-player game. And then we will just jump right into play. It won't be two separate videos. This game is really not that complex. I think if there's going to be a criticism of it, is it's not very historical, and it might be too simple for some people, especially those of you who are war gamers. As a Euro gamer, I play just as many Euro games as I do war games. This game appeals to me because it's a Euro war game, basically. It's got some nice dice checking. It's got nice war game elements, but it has a Euro feel, meaning I get random starts. I have to be very tactical. I can't, have a strategy from the start that I have to respond and react to what's going on in the field, all those things. So anyways, enough rambling. That's going to end the video, and I'm going to upload this. I have I'm actually going to finish this video and then I'm walking away. I have other plans for the day. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back to this later today, or it might be a few days before I can get my first video going. We'll see. But as always, thank you for watching, and stay healthy and safe.